Okay, so hello everyone. I guess I'm audible as well as visible. Yep. Yep. So welcome again to another session of GDSC Explore. And today we have with us Kamal Sri ma'am and Samia ma'am. Both of them are really great industry experts at Flutter, and Kamal ma'am is a GDE in Flutter and Dart. They're really great mentors, and yeah, we're looking forward to really have a great session with them. Yeah, so let's not wait for longer, and I guess we should start. So today, from here, Jyotishka will be taking the session, and he will be the host. And yeah, Jyotishka, over to you.
Thank you, Bhaiya. So, a very good evening to everyone present here. I guess I am visible and audible.
Yes, you are. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I, Joshua Bhattacharjee, welcome you all to be a part of this amazing session of Tech Talks under GDSC Explore 2022. Before we start with our session, let's catch up on the topics and events we have conducted until now. We have had the ceremonial opening session with Nikita ma'am. Then we have had one tech talk on data science with Usha ma'am, a career development talk with Sishir sir, and a tech talk on getting started with Android with Shreyash Patil sir. In case you missed any of them or just want to go through them once more, you can do so from the official YouTube channel of the respective organizing GDSC. Before we start, I want to request everyone, if possible, please join through your laptop or PC for a better experience of today's session. Yeah. To have a more engaging session, you can just open slido.com and type the code shown on the screen so that you can take part in the polls and ask questions. We will wait for a while so that you can join on the Slido.
Also, I have pasted the link of Slido. You can just visit slido.com, Slido, and can paste the QR code there. I hope we will make the session really interactive. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, before starting the session, there's a simple question. And let's see. Have you ever wondered upon the problem of different tech stacks and separate code to be used for developing software and applications for different platforms? You can type means choose your answer from the Slido poll. Yeah. So we have some interesting responses here. Well, there is a solution to the seemingly annoying problem of coding separate code for each platform. And this is the topic of our discussion today, that is Flutter. Flutter is an open source UI software development kit created by Google itself, which is used to develop cross platform applications for Android, iOS, Linux, Mac, Windows, and a few more other platforms from literally a single code source. To guide you in getting started and progressing in Flutter, we have our speakers, Kamal Sriman. She is a Google developer expert for Flutter, an open source community builder, a developer advocate, and also a Google mentor and mentor for Mentor Crews. Along with her, we have with us Samia Ashraf ma'am. She is an innovative mobile app developer, a Flutter developer for Intelligence, and also a former Flutter consultant at vHive. I would request Kamal ma'am and Samia ma'am to enlighten us with their wise words and show the path to get started as a developer in Flutter. Ma'am, the stage is all yours.
Thanks, Jyotishka. That was a great introduction. And thank you, Jyotimoi, for introducing us to this platform. And I'm looking forward to it. So I'll quickly go ahead and share my screen and we'll kickstart. Okay. Okay. Just let me know if you are able to view my screen. Is it in the presenter mode or the slide mode?
Yeah, it is visible, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am,
great.
it's visible.
All right, great. All right. So, firstly, good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending our session on a late evening. Usually on a weekends, I totally understand it's a personal time, but still coming up, listening to our talks, that means there's something that you're really expecting out of it. And definitely today, you will not be disappointed to know that there is this awesome tool called Flutter Flow, and it's kind of being the new era of designing app. So at the end of the session, definitely you will gain a lot of knowledge and you will have a very different perception about how to design apps rather than using the old school style where you don't have to really know the intricate features about designing components because already you're learning a concept, already you're learning a tech stack, and upon that you have to learn designing, it's going to be difficult. So today I'm going to introduce a tool which will speak or talk the language of a Flutter. And today I have with me an amazing co-speaker. I don't have to introduce myself because the coordinators have already done my job. So I have to talk about Samia, who's an enthusiastic Flutter developer. And definitely you can connect with her. I leave all her links in the chat and you can get connected with her. And she'll also be joining me in this session and talking about few of the Flutter Flow tools, topics, and a few of the components and about the designing aspects. So let me not delay more. So today's agenda is very simple. It's going to tell you what the importance of designing process, because you take an app, you take a website, you take any of the software application, the first process comes is design process. You have an idea, but then what next? So design is something which comes so that you can actually visualize things. Because if I have an idea, okay, I say I have to build this e-commerce app, I have to build this to do app, but then how? Only when you jot down or put things on the paper or you try coming up with a prototype, you will understand the design process. Then we're going to see what are the different types of designing app techniques. Before I go and explain about this particular tool called Flutter Flow, let's understand the traditional tools, what are the pros and cons of it, and how it is more efficient when compared to the other tools. Then we're going to see about the Flutter Flow, the features, the template page, components. If you see all this, if you are from a Flutter background, then definitely you will understand the terms I'm using here is so much correlated to Flutter. If I was a designer and if I had to look at this, what is component? Okay, what is uh, Firebase here? How is it kind of linked here? But if you are a Flutter developer, this tool is something that you will have to use like a mandatory tool. Like how you use IDE, you will have to use this as your first stage of designing things. Then we're going to cover a lot of templates, how integrations are happening, testing, and then the latest release. So coming to the design process, the importance of it. I have seen that the moment I say, well, I do kind of mentoring, the moment I say, can you come up with an app, like a to-do app, the first thing they do is they think, okay, list view, okay, randomly get in data. No, whether it's a project or a industry experience, or if you're working on your own personal project that you would like to publish and monetize or something like that, you will have to take it stage by stage. So design process is a very important stage. So you might say, Kamal, you know what? I have an idea. Then what is the next process? How do I kickstart with it? So you will have to undergo these stages. Define, that is define what exactly you're looking for. Be very crisp in your definition. You cannot say, I'm going to do an e-commerce app. What kind of e-commerce app? How is it different from the existing e-commerce app? What is that one feature that makes your app unique in the market? Try to come up with those kind of features, because based on that is what you're going to build your prototype. Then you're going to identify what are the features, which I've already covered. Brainstorm. Brainstorming is like you said, you have a discussion with your teammates. If you're an individual person, still have a brainstorming session. It's not that you have to have brainstorming with a team members or something like that. Jot down all the features that you would like to add. What are the sub features? Write a flow chart. You have a lot of tools to do it. Then select which one could be the first step, which could be the next phase. Put it in sprints. Do not jump in and try to finish all the features at a time. So, what do you need first when you try to design an app? I need all the assets. Then I need what the next is the theme. I need to have a theme, which is very important. I need data. I need to have a backend. I need to have services if I'm connected to it. Who are my users? Who are my customers? Do I need this app in offline or online mode? So you have to understand all these features. Prototype is come up with simple design, not exactly like the app, but a kind of a blueprint. Test it. Even in design phase, you have testing process. It's not only in the development phase, even in the design phase. Then reiterate it. That is, follow the same process again and again for different sprints. Communicate within the team, even if you're doing a minor change. Do not neglect the team members if you're working with them, saying, okay, you know what, I'll inform them later. They might miss out, and that might become a big issue later. So try to do this as a process when you're defining things. I'll definitely have to show this slide because the moment I say, can you come up with a list view? This is what people still follow, that old school style with that name in one corner of the page, the standard blue color or the green or red. Is that we don't have colors? Or is that, are you running out of ideas? Or is that what's really happening? This looks nice, but is it visualizable? Kind of, it's not visualizing, right? Even I would not feel like using an app which is like this bore dull colors. Definitely, I would look for something which is interesting, even though I do not have any complicated or intricate features. So always try to come up with innovative solutions. Say you're not, it's not happening with you, you're not getting ideas. We have tons of tools online to generate ideas for you, give templates like this. Think about this page and the previous page. You can see the difference, right? How it looks. So come up with pictures like this. Right. In this one page, I can make out all the details that I want to book this particular villa or this particular spot. I don't have to look for information. That is where a design process comes into picture and the importance of it. So next is always choose a theme. Even if you're working on a sample project or your college project, or you're working on your thesis or industry project, theming is very important. You have to continually maintain that theming from the starting to the end. Do not have just haphazard colors, just like that red, blue, green. No. The theming is process that itself is a separate division to learn. How do you choose gradients? How do you choose colors? Which colors really work? Can I go purple and green? No. There are colors which kind of diminishes, and those are the kind of colors you have to use. If you go to the material app document, you can find about colors, what combination colors you can use. And it's just not you are the one using the app, it's the user. And also there are special people who uses your app, right? So for them also, colors should not be really bright, it should be user friendly. So you have to think in terms of accessibility also. So this is one theme. This is another theme. So you will not find too many colors. They will maintain throughout the app. Button yellow, yes. Menu items green color. The background is green, I mean gray. And the top bar is green, that is kind of a teal color. So this is what you have to maintain throughout your app, and see how you can keep the theming. Also, just to highlight one point, do not overload your app with too much of information. Keep it very simple, to the point. If I'm talking about this product, for say example, the simple coffee stuff, I have this coffee, mint latte, description, size, price, or add to order, simple. I'm not going to tell what are the ingredients in it. I'm not over kind of making it too much of design, background, shady colors. No, very simple, elegant, and it's good to go. So this is how you need to think even design, because at the end of the day, when I download an app and if it's not visualizing, I would not even try to use it, right? Even though it's not kind of satisfying me the functionality wise. So make design process also a part of your development. And now I'm taking it to Samya, so she will continue with the types of designing apps. Yeah, on to you, Samya.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Jyotiska, Jyotimoy, and Kamal ma'am for the warm welcome. So let us start with the different types of designing apps. Next slide. Now, some of the app designing softwares that we already have are App Machine, Thunkable, and Adobe Xd with Flutter plugin. Obviously, there are a lot more other than these, but these are some that I have used and I would like to talk about them. Next slide. So App Machine here, this is a simple dashboard screenshot of App Machine. Now, as we can see, there are components like a couple of things like dashboard content and then design. But one thing that I've noticed about App Machine is that it's not very user friendly when compared to the others. Like, for example, I am a developer with minimal code knowledge. And when I start using App Machine, I just felt that it wasn't very user friendly. And the second point that I've noticed is that it does not have many options, UI component options. So building a complex software with something like App Machine may not be possible. It can be used for simple apps, but not for very complex ones. And Flutter, as we all know, is mainly responsible to build beautiful apps. Beautiful apps meaning your UI component is very descriptive. Something like that may not be achievable using App Machine. So App Machine can be used for simpler software or simpler apps. Next slide. And here we have Thunkable.com. Now, personally, I have used Thunkable. It's all good on the web. I've actually designed a simple app using 4 pages, and it has fairly more UI components when compared to other app building softwares. But one of the things that I've noticed is that when I live tested it on the phone, the components were not similar to what I had designed it on the web. Again, it is user friendly when compared to other building softwares, but again, you may not be able to build a very complex software using Thunkable. Next slide. So here we have Adobe Xd with the Flutter plugin. As we all see, we have a simple container with the shape of a circle and a little box shadow. Now in the next slide, we're going to see that, next slide. In the next slide, the Adobe Xd has actually generated the code for that particular container. Now this is achievable in Adobe Xd when you have Flutter plugin installed. Now, as we all see, it was actually a simple container with the shape of a circle, some color, and box shadow. So what Adobe Xd does, it sometimes tries to complicate things. Here, for a simple container, it also gave us the parent widget of transform.translate, which was actually not required. And for many complex apps or many complex UI design, it can actually complicate things. So this is one more disadvantage of Adobe Xd with Flutter plugin. Next slide. Some more issues with the traditional approach, that is traditional building softwares are, next slide. GitHub integration. Not all of them offer the GitHub integration functionality. This is extremely helpful when we're actually building a complex software and multiple developers want to collaborate. So this is where we'll be using the GitHub integration, and it is actually offered by Flutter Flow, which is one of the key features. And the second issue with the traditional approach is we do not get fine-grained control over the UI elements. Now, the thing about Flutter Flow is that you have a library of widget and components, which makes it easier for us to have control over our widgets. Next slide. So here, this is the widget library that I was talking about. Obviously, when compared to the other app building softwares, we have an extensive range in Flutter Flow. And one more best part about them is that they are actually sectioned. Like for example, we have layout elements and all of the layout widgets are divided there. Then we have page elements and form elements. So this is one more reason why Flutter Flow is best when compared to the others. Next slide. So this is a widget tree in Flutter Flow. So this is very similar to the widget tree that we have in Flutter apps. It makes it a lot more easier to rearrange your widgets and to see where your widget stands in the widget stack. You can also rearrange it and then also start working on just by clicking on the widget name. Next slide. Some more issues with the traditional approach are that, like I said, not all of them are user-friendly. But talking about Flutter Flow, if a user with minimal or let's say no coding knowledge starts using Flutter Flow, it is actually excellent because everything is detailed and it is sectioned. Like for example, when I first started using Flutter Flow, I did not really need any tutorials because everything was everything was perfectly arranged there. And excellent support from the Flutter team. They have actually Flutter Flow team has actually released a video on YouTube, which is a 20 to 25 minutes long video where they've explained how to build an app from start to finish in under 2 hours. So they have compressed it and explained it in 20 minutes. So definitely give that a check. If you're somebody starting out just new, that video may be very helpful for you. And another point about Flutter Flow is that you have access to multiple free templates. Templates are nothing but pre-designed pages, which we will be looking at in the next section. Next slide. Now, because we get more control over our UI elements and the features that Flutter Flow offers, developing complex apps becomes a lot easier. And also the Github integration adds up to this. And one more key feature about Flutter Flow is that the source code can be downloaded. There are some other softwares that offer this, but when compared to the other features, source code can be downloaded here. And also the feature that you can push your code to GitHub, it makes developing complex apps a lot more easier and multiple developers can collaborate to build a complex software. Next slide.
All right. Thanks, Samya. So until now, we have seen what are the issues with the traditional approach, or what are the things that you have to consider while designing an app, right? So we have seen all this because whenever you dive into a topic, you need to understand what actually led to the generation of this, whether it could be Flutter. So say, for example, when I started learning about Flutter or open source, I always try to dig deep into what was prior to open source. What was that something was not happening in that particular technology that Flutter came into existence? So that's what Samya kind of tried to explain. Okay, these were the issues with the traditional approach, and Flutter Flow kind of speaks the language of Flutter, and it is like it's a mandatory thing that every Flutter developer or someone who is aspiring to learn Flutter should use this tool once they get used to it, so that you can save ton of time. I mean, resources, you can save your time, things gets easier, so that you can focus more on the functionality part rather than designing it. Because my job here is to not design the app. My job as a developer is to get the function rolling up, right? So if I have to really concentrate on the curve, on the margin padding, that's not my job, because we spend most of the time doing it. Because I remember as a Flutter developer, when I started, I knew what was widgets. I started learning components, how to customize it. Everything was good to go. But then when I started designing my apps, I used to spend like 2 to 3 hours just designing a single page just to ensure that it works perfectly fine. Now, don't you think that I'm really wasting time on these aspects? I know my app has to have a login module, I'll have to focus on the database part, the connectivity, the authentication. And my job here is not to sit and ensure that the login module looks appealable and visualizing to the user. That's the designer's job. But can I hire a designer for it exclusively? No. That's where Flutter Flow comes to rescue. So if I have to talk about Flutter Flow in a nutshell, it's a low-code builder for native mobile application. Say, for example, you're a developer. When it comes to an application building, you would have people from different roles. You would have a business consultant, project manager, tester, quality guy, a developer, a backend, front end, so many kinds of role people would be available. Is it necessary that all speak the language of Flutter? No. So how are we going to ensure that everybody understands this designing part? So this tool makes it easier for you to design apps, and so that everybody concentrates on their functionality and only the designer is there to ensure that designing part is covered. It's simple drag and drop. Yes, trust me, I'm going to show you the UI builder part. It is so easy. You can just drag it and drop it instead of thinking, okay, what widget should I use here? Okay, I need the layouts to be one below the other. Then, okay, if I'm already working on Flutter, I know it's a column widget, but there it gives you the visual effect so that you know, okay, this effect, if I want it, I have to use a column widget. You can create the design simultaneously for iOS and Android. You have tons of integrations implement. Say, for example, you want to add Google Maps, you can do it. Tell me where a designing app like Adobe or any other XYZ apps that allows you these kind of integration. So if you're working on Flutter, this really helps. Not only Flutter, let me not tell you that. Even if you are a salesperson, you have an idea and you want to develop this app, are you going to sit and learn the entire Flutter? No. Instead, you could directly do it on this Flutter Flow. It is so easy to do it. Even if you want to design an Android app, you want to show a prototype to anybody, you can do it here. You don't have to speak the language here. And also connecting to GitHub. You know how GitHub is important to share your code, manage your repository, work in teams. That integration is also available. So you can share the code. In a couple of minutes, I'll show you in the upcoming slides how to do that. And the best and the most important part is whatever you're designing, you get the entire code available to you. So that also I'm going to show you. So what else are they making it easy for us? In fact, you can build an app in 1 or 2 hours, the entire app from the design to the production. Deploying also they help you. And it is that easy to do these days app. Trust me, in a couple of more years, all of your development would be taken by these kind of low code builder platforms. No more you would be sitting and coding things. You would be doing a lot of logical thinking rather than building things. Now, whatever these days we are doing, like building things, building the login functionality or any other functionality, that will all be taken by the automated process. So you will have to be geared up to learn that kind of a technology that helps you more on a logical thinking rather than this monotonous monotonous kind of work on the coding part. So these are some of the templates that are available. So if I have to build the car model in my Flutter app, definitely it's going to take me at least 2 days if I'm new to Flutter. If I'm even experienced, half a day. But with Flutter Flow, I can do it in 10 minutes. It is that easy. Everything I can do because they all are readily available. I have to just choose the template and I'm good to go. I can change the value. I can change the gradient feature. I can change the color of the list views. I can change the direction if I want multi-language. I can change anything. Everything is available. So this is the UI builder. This is how it looks. So as Samya kind of referenced it in the beginning, you have widgets. So if you're a Flutter developer, you will understand the concept of widget. In Flutter, everything is a widget. Whatever you see on the screen is a widget. It's a column widget, row widget, expandable widget, button, icons, everything is a widget. So on the left side, you can see all the kinds of integration. So you have Firebase, you have assets, you can store all your images. It's easy to use. Time would take only to understand this UI builder. The rest is all 5 minutes job. You can get things done. So similarly, now I have the screen. Now when I touch on it, particular component on the right side, I can see its parameters. So I've selected a different page. Now you can see that that particular alignment, I can do center, end. You see the changes happen immediately. So if I had to do the same thing in my Flutter app, you know how much time it's going to take, right? And at the same time, I told you I can view the code, right? So you can see the entire code is generated for you for whatever screen you're selecting, and I can copy paste this code in my Flutter app. It is that simple. So I think the traditional way of building app is going to change. You don't even have to get things structured. The system or the automated thing tool is doing it for you. All you have to do is now just come up with idea and just execute it. That's how the generation is going to change. So yeah, this is about the tool. Um, so just to get a little more deeper into it, to speak the language of Flutter. So if you're not from a Flutter, you might find it difficult, but if you've already at least seen what Flutter is and experienced the counter app or simple apps, just to talk about the canvas area in the dashboard, we have like, you can select the pages and the components, you can create custom components. You have something called UI builder. That is the main page, which I kind of showed in the previous screen. Then you have widget tree. In Flutter, everything is a tree structure, right? So you can see how it's kind of structured. You have Firestore, you have API calls, you have project media and assets where you can store all your images, fonts, custom functions can be created, settings and integration. And again, on the right corner, you have the widget name, screens. You can select which pages. If you have 20 to 30 pages, everything would be available in the drop down. You can create components by clicking on the diamond icon, and then you have animations, you have properties, and it's making your job easy. If I have just to convert my idea to prototype, trust me, blindly just go use this app. And upon that, if you want to add few more animations, you can start working on it. So say, for example, this is the widget panel. I just want to create a simple column widget just by adding images. You can see how simple it is for me to do. I'm really not doing anything. I don't have any images. All I'm doing is just select that particular column widget and drag and drop. This is what I was talking about. Things are going to be so simple. Now, again, on the right side, if you see animation, if I have to add animation, first I have to learn animation in Flutter. And then I have to see how do I execute it or add actions. But this tool makes it really easy where on a click of a button, I can do everything. Now, how you do what you want, it's totally your choice. That's where your creativity comes. But how to do it, it is simple here with a button click. Now, there are a couple of other features also available, which is like the widgets and components, Firebase. It actually makes, see, this Flutter Flow builder is just not a design tool. I would say it's a fully fledged Flutter developing tool, if you ask me. To start from an app, from an idea till the deployment, I can do it here. Say, for example, I have a simple to-do app. I can do it within one day if I use this tool. It is that easy. But you're not going to learn. But if you know Flutter, definitely that's a different point. But if you don't know, I would suggest learn the concept first, understand what is a component, what is a widget. And then if you try this, you would really enjoy and appreciate the beauty of this tool. So we have widgets and component, we have Firebase integration, then we have API calls. Say you want to connect to a payment service, it's an e-commerce app. How do I do it? You have all those facilities. We have a lot of advanced functionality like search engines are being added, CI/CD tool, code magic for deploying, testing of the app, pushing it to the production. So a lot of things are available. Customization, which is very, very important. Because if I have something which is according to the Flutter Flow tool, I would not enjoy it, right? Customization is something that I always look. Always building a similar style of app is also not our style of doing things. Then your creativity doesn't come. So adding customization is also very important, and they give a lot of importance to it. Who? Flutter Flow. So these are the few features that you could try. I think, yeah, templates and pages, I think Samya will handle it. On to you, Samya.
All right. So template pages and components. Now, what are template pages? Like I said earlier, template pages are basically pre-designed pages in in the Flutter Flow. Next slide. So Flutter Flow offers a library of pre-designed templates. Now let's say that I want to build an app in under 1 hour, or let's say 2 hours, and I don't want to sit and design my app. So I can directly use the template pages that Flutter Flow offers and then get started with the functionality part. So template pages can be simple like a login page or complex like a booking page. Next slide. So here I will try to add a page, call it as dashboard, and select one of the template pages. So when I click on use template, the template gets added and I can start directly with the customization. Like for example, I can even rearrange, I can go to the widget tree, rearrange any of the UI components and then start with the functionality. So here my design time was absolutely 0. I just selected one of the template pages from the Flutter Flow library. Next slide. And template pages in Flutter Flow are extremely versatile. Like I said, I can keep it as it is, or I can even go ahead and change them according to my requirement. I can change the names or I can rearrange them, and I can even add new elements to it. And widget tree can be explored to modify the widget stack. I can rearrange everything. Next slide. Now, what are components? Like Kamal ma'am explained, components can be portion of bigger widgets. Next slide. So here I'll just select the components tab. So here I'm creating a new page called as social login page. It's an empty screen. I'll head over to the components tab and try adding some of them. So here I have selected 2 social login buttons, that is sign in with Google and log in with Facebook. I will select a column, rearrange them, and I can select main axis to be center so that the elements will be placed in the center. So yeah, these are some of the components in the Flutter Flow. Next slide. Components can be simple, like how we have here, or they can even be complex. So here we have some of the very simple components. These are ready-made, just drag and drop them, and then you can start editing them. Next slide. Here we have some of the complex components, like these can be considered as a combination of widgets. Again, we can select one of them and then start with modifying them. Next slide.
Yeah. Thanks, Samya. So I think now you would have got an understanding like how it's going to help you drag and drop or get things easier so that you concentrate more on the functionality part, right? So I'm going to give you a quick overview of the Firebase integration part. But before that, I would like to touch up on one concept called the card. So creating card is very common in Flutter. So if I have to create a card, I'll click on the column and then I'll say card widget and I click on the card and then I'll click on the card again, click on the column. Again on the column, I'll tell where do I want to align it. I'll say stretch it, and then I'll add an image. I got the image there. So if I had to do the same thing in Flutter, I would at least, if you're very new to beginners Flutter, you would take at least 10 to 15 minutes to get this aligned, that overflowing, that error, a zebra line saying it's been overflow or adding some movie name. You can see that it's happening so fast if you know the language of Flutter and how to build this tool. I can build it in minutes. So that is how easy it is to work with this tool. I would strictly suggest learn Flutter, understand the beauty of it, learn the code, learn the widgets, learn the technical documents. And then when you say that I'm good to go to build projects, come to this tool and start with it. Do not start directly from here. You will definitely not understand and you would run out of a lot of issues and you won't understand how it really works. Okay. So they're making things for you easy because I cannot keep on remembering parameters. Say, for example, I have a column widget. I want to do something. I want to align all the components to the center. Then I have to look at the technical document, understand what are the parameters here. Instead, I click on that particular component. I will get on the right side what are the properties available to it. So this is how it makes it easy. Then Firebase integration is there, which is one of the useful because every app, I would say 10% of the apps do not have Firebase, do not connect with the backend, but most of the app do, right? So integrating with Firebase with Flutter is very important. So that is also made easy for you in Flutter Flow. So it's very simple. It's the usual standard procedure where you create your Flutter project and then you create your Firebase project, get into Firebase website, create a project there, then enable the access, configure the Firebase saying it's for Android, iOS, copy the project ID, then generate the config file, you're done. Your Flutter Flow app and your Firebase is connected. Then you can do authentication, you can push the data to the database, you can retrieve, delete, modify, you can do all the CRUD operations. So it's that easy just by using this tool. So I don't have to set up everything on my IDE. Just by setting it on the Flutter Flow tool, I can do all this. Okay, here is another, as I told you, an important feature is I have the screen, and when I click on the view code, this entire screen's code I get generated here. So if I have to use the same thing with a different color, with a slight difference, and with a logo change, I can do it within minutes if I have these assets. So when I click on the particular component, it takes me directly to that particular code, line of the code. So you can see that I click on the top right corner saying view code, and I get all this done. Then moving on to the integration part, as I told you, like Firebase, we also have a lot of other third-party services integrated, like Stripe, which is like if you want to accept payments directly in your application, you can use Stripe integration. In the normal thing, we use some third-party libraries, we add it in the dependency pub.spec YAML, and then we do it. But here I already have that integrated. Or the revenue cat, it is another in-app purchase subscription. Then the Google Maps, if I want to implement Google Maps with the picker and all the directions and entirely the Google Map features, I can use this. This is also available, so try it out. Then I have something called Code Magic, which is again a deployment tool, and to deploy your apps on App Store or Play Store, it is also done. So it's just not designing your app, it's also deployment is also covered. GitHub repository, your code repository, you can manage your code. Everything is in one place. You can push the code or fetch the code from the Flutter Flow using this GitHub integration. All is that you have to set up initially when you are starting the project. Then another thing you have is Algolia, which is again a search. Say, example, your app requires a search engine there. You want to add a search so that if user comes type a particular keyword, it gets, you have a third party search any of your collections with this powerful integration tool. So that is also covered for you. So definitely it has a lot of tons of features available. And in fact, they're still working on it. And it was introduced in 2021. It kind of got released. And you can see the kind of work they're doing to get this product out. And it's already available in the market. And in fact, every month we have tons of releases happening. So to talk about the release multi-language, first and foremost, the multi-language is like it lets you create multi-language app. No code is required. Just define the language and the Google Translate takes care of it. Or if you want to manually enter translation, you can definitely do it. So now you can use even your app for multi-language just with this design. So don't you think this tool is more than a design tool? It covers everything for you. Then we also had the desktop version released just a day back, which was 2.10, which is bringing stable release of Windows support, right? So even now Flutter Flow has the support for desktop. We had 50 more components introduced in the month of January. We had a PDF viewer. So you think about all that was implemented in Flutter, they are getting it in Flutter Flow. They're making it as a tool mandatory so that every Flutter developer knows about this tool, use it effectively, and then move on to the deployment or development. So I'm going to freeze the screen for a while. So I have a code exclusively for students to create an account so that you can avail a lot of discount and benefit. So I'm going to paste this link on the chat window also, or you can just copy this or take a picture of it. Use this link to create an account. It's free beginning. And then if you want to add features, it is payable, but a lot of discounted for a country like India. They're giving a lot of discount. So please do try it out, work on it, and see how you like it. So initially, nothing is required. Free tiles, 10 templates, you can work on it free of use. So use this link and do it. Again, I'll post it on the chat after the session. So I'm going to freeze it like for 15 seconds. So if you want to copy, paste it, or you can do it. Okay, again, you can follow me on all these channels. If you have any questions related to Flutter, the tool, or the cross-platform, or any career-related issues, if you want to transition, any projects, any issues related to Flutter that you're stuck and you're not able to proceed further, I'm there, Samia is there. I'm going to leave her links also in the chat. You can get in touch with her, and you can connect with me and get questions answered. So I think, yeah, that's it for the session. I think by the end of the session, I think I made a justification of introducing a tool that is going to reduce a lot of time for you. At the same time, get your creativity side out, get a visualizing app, and see how effectively you can build apps going forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kamal ma'am and Samia ma'am, for those inspiring and knowledgeable words of yours, which I'm sure have impacted the minds and hearts of attendees and stirred up an inspiration and dream to learn and develop in Flutter. Now, we will have a short Q&A. I request the attendees to put their doubts in the Q&A in Slido, and I request Kamal ma'am and Samia ma'am to address to their questions. Yeah. So, we have our first question. How will Flutter Flow affect development in your hint site? Ma'am?
How will Flutter Flow? Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah. How will Flutter Flow affect development in your hint site?
Okay, I would say it will not affect on a major level, but if you have really come as a Flutter developer, starting it will be a pain point for you to design apps. So I would say if you already know what is a component widget, and if you have something in mind and you want to build an app with a good theme, with good templates, and do not spend too much of time on this, definitely keep that as a tool and start working it. But if it is compared to the development, yes, it will reduce a lot of time, but you can focus more on the functionality, more on the creativity side, how better you can make this particular feature. So you can focus on those kind of aspects. Samia, would you like to add something?
Yes, exactly. The design time can be reduced as well. And if the user is not very well versed with Flutter techniques, definitely Flutter Flow will reduce the time in the development and also the design process.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on, we have your next question. Do you think Flutter is viable as a framework for web development?
Okay, definitely, I would say give it a try. We have all Flutter is just not for mobile, it's for web, desktop, all platforms, everything it's working. But yes, stable, we have desktop stable, and also there might be few features which still are not available, so do not get disappointed. If you say web development, it's been more than 20 years, it's been more than 2 decades. So if you start comparing something with which is like 20 years old, which is like just 2 or 3 years old, you would definitely find few features not available. So don't get disappointed saying, okay, don't come or draw to conclusion saying, okay, you know what, this is not compatible and it will still take some time. Definitely it'll take time, but at the speed or rapidness it is kind of proceeding, it's very fast. So yes, it is going to be stable and it's going to be working on web, desktop, anything you imagine. And also going forward, we have something called Fuchsia coming into picture, which is the I'll not give too much of it. It is like the one operating system which is going to be built on Flutter, which is going to cover all devices. So you have this, you can build on any device, things can happen. So just wait for it and watch out for more updates on it. Yeah.
Thanks, ma'am. Moving on. One person said, I have heard that apps made in Flutter and are bulky and require more space than Kotlin or Swift. Shouldn't we be worried about that?
Yeah. Samia, you want to pick this?
Yeah. So Flutter, like we said, the UI here can be controlled in a very fine-grained manner. So it definitely we have a lot more features in Flutter when compared to the native languages, and yeah, that's why it may be very bulky. But then it's a lot of features can be added to the Flutter apps. So yeah.
Okay, just to add one more point, that was an excellent point. Just to add one more point, um, Flutter Flow, yeah, it's more on the designing aspect. But when you come as a Flutter developer, it's just not about building widgets and tree. You got to kind of observe all those variables, all those rebuilds that you're doing. Are you doing any unnecessary rebuilds? These kind of things really add a lot of bulky without knowingly or intentionally, without knowing things you are doing in your Flutter app. So for that, you have to understand the architecture, get a little more deep dive into the render object, how things are rendering. Now, when I change a color and do a hot reload, how things are getting so fast, what is really happening in the background. So if you kind of understand those kind of things, definitely you can kind of resolve this bulkiness and all this speed, performance, those kind of aspects can be reduced. I mean, kind of understand this at this point of time, but when you're building things, these things really matter a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Next question is a very interesting question. I also wanted to ask you this question, ma'am. What are the challenges you faced as a Flutter developer, given that it is rapidly evolving language with various updates in a very short term?
Okay. Challenges is to be on par with the releases. That is something which I always kind of struggle a lot, because every day there is something happening with Flutter. And also, one more challenge that I had was when I used to build way back 2 years back when I was building Flutter, and now how things are changing, to manage that, to balance that thing is kind of a challenging part. Because initially there are a lot of updates. We used to never have the new keyword, so we had to update. Still, people are using that new keyword. You don't have to use. Constant is introduced, null safety is introduced. So keeping yourself up to date, connected with the community is something which I feel is challenging, which you have to do in the beginning. Once you know the drill, then you're good to go.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Next question I want to ask: will Flutter Flow ever recreate the same feel as developing apps directly by coding? Will it be able to recreate complex state management techniques?
Definitely. I would say, I think they are in the mode of working all these things, that is managing your state. I'm sure later it would be just selecting a drop down saying which state management you want to use, and your entire code might get modified accordingly. So I think you would be in a situation just to um, take that decision which state management I want, rather than using all that heavy boilerplate code telling where I have to use my notifier listener, all that. I think the platform will take care of it. I think they're still working on those part. So it's going to make easy, and a lot of discussions which we keep doing every day, telling which is the better state management, which is not good. So all these kind of things will be reduced. So I would definitely say yes, they are working on it.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we have: can we design any kind of app with Flutter Flow without even knowing the basics of Flutter development and coding?
Yeah, Samya, you want to take?
Yes. So yes, it is possible, but then having little knowledge of Flutter will really help you. Maybe if you're not having any coding experience, you might want to watch the YouTube video. You might want to watch it before you actually start building. But when compared to the other app building softwares, yes, it is very easy to build, but you might come across some roadblocks, which definitely the Flutter Flow team has tutorials for. So yes, my answer would be yes. You can develop something, simple apps using Flutter Flow with no coding language.
Thank you, ma'am. Let's see, are there any more questions loading? All right.
Good evening.
So,
Hello. Good evening, ma'am. I'm Somaranjan Mapatra. I'm a Flutter moderator at GDSC NIT Silchar. So this was like a personal doubt for me, and like if given the chance to like if you are given the chance to like restart the career and like go back in time, suppose let's say, would you still choose Flutter as the your like as a tech stack that you would like to work on, or would you like to do something new that was evolving then and no one had an idea of whether or not it will be successful or not, like blockchain or something like that?
Mhm. Okay, Soumya. Definitely a very good question because I get tons and tons of questions like this. And even I was in a situation where I didn't know where to go or which one to choose. So it's a very usual question people ask this. You know what, as my experience cannot be the same for you as well. So in my experience, if I was in that situation, which I did not do and I kind of lack, which I would say you could try is first gauge the market. What is that market currently looking for? If it is something on blockchain or the country where you're living or the state, or if you have a company in mind that you really want to get into it, and if they're using that particular technology, look for it and do some research. That is something which really lacks in student or any profession. They do not do any analysis, any research. Rather, they would trust someone's word of mouth. They would listen to them. For them, it would be easy. For you, it would not be. They might be good at C. You might not be good at C. They might be good at designing process. You might not be. So make an analysis what is required or what is the current market, do all the research, and then have a mentor, talk to them. You know what, this is what is in my mind, and these are the things that I'm really good at, and this is what is the market looking for. So what do I do? Then a mentor would be a mentor or someone who's senior, who's been in this field, would be a right person to guide you. That kind of guidance you have to look for it, rather than just following people. If someone is getting into AI stream, don't run to AI. If someone is looking into cloud, don't run towards it. See where you stand, what is the market, will you have any further prospect in that particular year, at least for 5 to 10 years, then invest and work on it. And studying or learning should be a daily process. You cannot be that only during the job search time you learn that particular concept, finish it, and then you're done with it. No, even I study at this time also. I'm still learning a lot of things, understanding it. How was it way back 10 years back? How was it, how things were happening, and how things are changing now, and how in back in 5 years it's going to change. Always keep that balance and move forward in your career. Do not stick to that old school style. Do not stick to that monotonous job. Come do fix bugs. No, come out of that shell. Way back we did not have open source. Now everything is open source. Way back when I used to give my resumes to companies, or when people were looking for jobs, they used to ask, are you good at Java? Are you good at Android, C, C++? You know what's the trend now? They ask, are you good at open source? Are you good at building libraries? How are you into the community? What part of the community are you? So you see the trend is changing. If I follow the same style, okay, telling no what, I'm good at Java, I'm going to stick to it. I have 10 years of experience. I have 20 years of experience. I have built 10 projects. Do you think a company would hire you rather than a person who's just out of the college saying, I have open sourced, I worked in a community, check out my GitHub link, I have so many libraries, packages published. Who would you think would be hired first? definitely I would give for someone who's up to date with the latest market. That's my perception. So maybe Samia also can share her experience and her views on it.
Yes, this is actually something that I've experienced personally. So I had made a career change and I was also very overwhelmed looking at the market. But then I studied. In order to make a decision, I studied. And the thing about Flutter that really that I experienced was that Flutter was very impressive with the way it worked. And obviously, like Kamal ma'am said, we also have to do a research on what the market demands, what the market really wants. So Flutter is something that I really enjoy coding, and I was really impressed with the way things worked in Flutter, and that's the reason I actually went ahead with Flutter. But yeah, this is something that I've experienced personally. So yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. So we will have one final question for today. Will Flutter Flow take over the jobs of coders out there? I mean, will it entirely take over the coding part in future?
It's a kind of a yes or no. I wouldn't say immediate future, but at least this low code or no code platforms are booming in the market. If you do a research about it, you can see a lot of things are kind of minimized. Initially, we used to say, for example, when I used to set up project, it was this usual standard way of setting a project. Nowadays, everything is getting automated. Even deploying apps, those all are part of autonomous work, right? So everything is getting worked by computers are doing for it. So you as a student, not now, maybe another 5 to 6 years that boom would come. So you have to be prepared, always look for things in the market which are coming up, what is the latest technology and all that. But as of now, don't worry about it. Flutterflow is not going to take entirely things, it'll take some time, but it is rapidly growing. That is what I would say. And always watch out for technology. You cannot sit or stick to one tech, because if you see, 10 years back I was a web developer, then a mobile developer, now I'm into community building, I'm kind of a developer advocacy role. The technology, if you see, yesterday it was Flutter, today I'm working on a new tech called Harmony OS, which is like, to just give you a simple example, way back a person used to be connected only with two devices, laptop, mobile. In 2015 a person was connected to mobile, laptop, watch. In 2020, he has mobile, laptop, watch, and a earpod. Now in 2025, it's kind of predicted a person would have at least on an average 9 devices connected to him. It could be drones, it could be speakers, it could be so many other devices connected to him. Now this Harmony OS is one tech stack where it is like the operating system is going to decide which or where to play from it. You will not decide. If you want to play a music, you have a phone, you have a laptop, you have a speaker nearby, you have earpods, but still, you know what, you have to choose from which device you have to play the music, right? So the technology is in such a way built and the operating system is built that it's going to intelligently look for device and play from the device which has the best features. So that's the technology coming. So going forward, even that choosing part, you don't have to do it. So that's what I'm saying. Things are going to change. Be prepared for, if you want to stay in this industry, learn things, always look forward what could be the future, and what is the present, and then do some analysis.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am, for your insightful words. With this, we come to the end of the Q&A and also at the end of our Tech Talk session for today. I really want to thank Kamal ma'am and Samya ma'am from the bottom of my heart and on the behalf of all the GDSC Explore team. Ma'am, thank you for taking off time from your busy schedule and being present here and means showing us the path towards Flutter. I want to hand over the mic to Jyotirma Bhaiya.
Yeah, thank you, Jyotiska. Uh, Thank you, ma'am, for being a part of GDSC Explore and really gracing us with your presence. And I hope this added a really great value to our event. And I hope in the near future we can have more such events coming up. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining today.
Thank you so much, everyone, and thank you, Jyotimai, and thank you, Jyotishka, and thank you, Samya, for being such an amazing co-speaker and delivering this content. Thank you so much for this, and looking forward for more sessions.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Kamal ma'am.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.